You already know it's the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, and we're going to preview the game tonight against the New York Knicks. But first, we got to play that intro.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans, we in the building today. You guys know what it is, and we holding it down. Bulls face the Knicks today, and this is an interesting matchup for a couple of different reasons. Because you just never know when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, right? You can't overlook any opponent with the Bulls. You can't underestimate anyone. The Bulls can play with anybody. They can lose to anybody. That's just how it's been so far this season. As I talked about on my pre-recorded video today, the fact that we don't have a sustained level of play from the Chicago Bulls at this point is probably one of the most concerning things in the season. We have nothing that we can bet on night in and night out. Not even DeMar DeRozan, right? I know a lot of Bulls fans are going to say that, but not even DeMar, who is inconsistent in some halves. It's been probably more first halves of DeMar having single digits than probably any point last season already. Only 26 games into the season. So there's that. The Bulls are 3-10 in clutch games so far this season, which is ridiculous considering that was flipped last season. There's a lot of things with the Chicago Bulls of why it's just you just can't bet on this team, right? You can't bet on this team to play a certain way. You can't bet on this team to execute the same way every single time. It just hasn't. We haven't had that up until this point in the season, and because of that, it really has left a lot to be desired for the Chicago Bulls. As you can see, all my hats. Can't expose the hats. Let's move that off screen. Can't be having you guys see the hats. I got some hats that ain't even came out yet right there. Anyway, with that being said, so just when it comes to this with this team, man, last time we're not in New York, right? Last season we had Zach LaVine told Stephen A. Smith, I know you want us to lose tonight, but it's not going to happen. I wish we can have that type of confidence in this team. Does it look a little dark? Does the lighting look a little darker to you guys? Maybe it's just me. We just gonna up that up just a tinge. But yeah, it is what it is. We got to get the wins today. If we can get wins in these next two games against the New York Knicks, it really puts the Bulls in a better situation when you look at their next 10. Basically, every game leading up between now and Christmas, the Chicago Bulls can win and can be in. Will they is the question. And that's one of the most difficult things with the Chicago Bulls because you just don't know if they will or they won't. But hopefully 2 games at home, get some home cooking against the New York Knicks, and hopefully this team can start getting ready to start turning around their season. Now, if we do win these next 2 games, that will put the Bulls 4-1 in their last 5. Right now, the Chicago Bulls, they're 7-3 in their last 10. But 3-7. Flip that around. I wish we had 10. But we'll see what the Chicago Bulls can do in this one. But let's go ahead and get to the comments, see how you guys are feeling about it. Hustler Sport says, "Sup, Haize? What's going on, fam?" Shay in the building says, "Yo, what's good? What's up, Shay?" Drew in the building said, "What up, Haize? Do you think we should trade for Kuzma?" Depending on what it takes. I know me and Pat, the designer, talked about this over on Locked On Bulls. I'm not of the mindset at all that they should trade Patrick Williams in a trade for Kuzma. And maybe that's just me being selfish. Again, AK is not going to – I don't think he's going to move Patrick Williams. It depends on what you get it done. You can include Vooch in that case, not for Kuzma, because you still need a center. And even I know some Bulls fans are going to say, well, move Drummond into the starting center. You still need a backup. Tony Bradley ain't it. But if they were able to move Kuz to Chicago and the package kind of built around Kobe White, maybe you have to give up DJJ as well. That I'm not mad at. But I don't know if the Bulls – have enough with what we think they're going to want to hold on to. Again, don't think they're going to trade Patrick Williams anytime soon. We'll see. I mean, they could definitely make the contracts work. The contract really isn't a thing. If you look at the Bulls, like I said, especially if you're building it around Kobe White, you very well could, but who knows? We'll see. I believe that this is a game that Patrick Williams should look to handle the ball and drive it a little bit more because Julius Randle is not that good of a defender. Well, in their last 2 games against each other, Patrick Williams and Julius Randle, defensively, he's dominated Julius Randle. In the last 2 matchups between those 2 players, I think Julius Randle averages like 8 points in those last 2 matchups. Now, over the course of his career, they've played 5 games against each other, and Julius Randle averages 20 and 8 against Patrick Williams. But We'll see. I think more so than anything is the defense. I don't know about offensively. I don't know about looking to use Patrick Williams as a point forward. If they do in this game, it would pull Julius Randle from the post, which would then help Vooch with the rebounding battle. But I don't know if I see them doing that. Have we gotten official word if Brunson's out or not tonight? Does anybody know? Have we gotten official word on that? Let's see if I can find it. Give me 1 second. Looks like he's still listed as questionable for me. I haven't seen anything official as of yet. Let me go check my other source. I got a couple of different places I can check with that. Nothing that I see as of yet. Ayo Dosunmu is out tonight. So Ayo is out for sure. Brunson's a game time decision. But yeah. So I'm excited to see Stephen A on First Take after this blowout loss for the Knicks. Hey, from your mouth to God's ears there, brother. Steve-O speaks, these MFers owe me 2 wins. I'm not predicting nothing. I'm not asking or praying. It better just get down or they ask some hoes. God damn, bro. Here's to Rose scoring 30 and the Bulls getting the W. Man, that would be a thing that would happen. Keith Don't Miss says, I swear if another game winner get out on us this season, I'm going to get mad. Oh, it's happening. It's definitely happening. Let's see. Even though he may not play this year, it's good to see Zoe shooting. Yeah, like I said, every step that goes by, I'm less and less confident in playing the season. But I mean, hey, you never know. Let's play the Bulls basketball we love to play. Somebody has to step up and take over. Well, that's the thing. What is the Bulls basketball that we love to play? Like this team has shown very little of that. They've shown flashes of it, but they haven't done it consistently. Brian Ventura says, Haize, what's going on, Brian? Glad to have you in the building. PB and Patch, one of the OGs here, says, honestly, have a great feeling with Drummond being aggressive like this and DJJ. DJJ is on a hell of a streak. Which may be why you may have to include him in a trade. Nonetheless, something cool I was thinking of was Chicago gets Turner and Kuzma, Wizards get Vooch, Pacers get Kobe Hachimura and Tony Bradley. That's not happening. That trade's not happening. There's no way. I get it. I get what your mindset is there. As I take out my gum, but it's not happening. The Bulls aren't getting Turner and Kuzma, and even then, Turner and Kuzma together is that's tough. And I don't mean tough in a good way. I don't like the concept of those two playing together, but it is what it is. Feel like Zach shoots too much in clutch situations instead of going to the rim and getting it done like usual. Well, don't forget, Zach has hit some very big shots. Hell, even a couple of games ago, he had 2 very clutch threes in the Bulls win. So I understand why he does go to that. My issue wasn't necessarily him shooting threes in that last game, the overtime loss to Atlanta. It's how early in the shot clock he shot those threes. That was the biggest problem for me in that game in overtime from Zach. It's not necessarily, I don't mind Zach shooting threes. He has to shoot himself out of it. It was the fact that even if you didn't want to do a three-pointer, run an actual play. When in overtime, the start of overtime at that, you're taking three-pointers, step-back three-pointers, 18 seconds left on the shot clock. That's just not smart basketball. So I literally circled this game on the calendar 3.5 weeks ago. Should be pretty evenly matched in a competitive game. Listen, I take nothing for granted. Nothing for granted for with this Bulls team right now. Everybody is talking about getting a guy like Kyle Kuzma that has a big contract. They're not looking at guys like Darius Bazley or Cam Reddish. Well, keep in mind, Cam Reddish isn't at a position of need. I understand with the thought process behind Cam Reddish, but it's not a position of need. Kyle Kuzma also only has 1 year left on that contract. So even though it's technically big money, it's easily matched by what the Chicago Bulls have on the roster. And it's not like it's a long-term deal either. He has 1 year left, and that is a player option at that. Could there be, if you trade him, you can say he could opt out and then you sign him for, a longer-term deal? That's fine, but it's not necessarily super big money. If it was like a $20, $22, $23 million contract, that's different. But even Cam Reddish and Darius Bazley, they can't even help their current teams win. And they don't bring a lot of what the Bulls need, not consistently. Sure, Cam Reddish on paper is a good 3-and-D wing. In reality, watching the games, watching him play, He's that at flashes, but he's almost as inconsistent as Kobe White. That's why I've always battled back against Bulls fans that talk about Kobe White's inconsistency. Be like, yeah, let's flip Kobe White for Cam Reddish straight up. It's like, you do realize Cam Reddish is also equally as inconsistent. He's a better defender, especially on paper. Kobe's the better shooter, at least on paper, but they're both very inconsistent players and they don't bring a lot. Now, Darius Bazley, he's cool. Don't get me wrong, he's cool, but it's not like he'll be even in my top 10 priorities of what we need for me. It's just my opinion. Cam Reddish straight up for Kobe. I think that's something we should do, but the Knicks may want picks. I still don't necessarily think that helps the Bulls too much. What's up, Haize? I left a 3-team trade proposal on your earlier video. It's not perfect, and I'm reluctant to trade Vooch, but if Billy ain't going to coach to no one's strength except DeMar and Zach, well, that's the thing, though. And I saw that trade idea, and I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad trade idea, but again, most of those trades are bringing in players that need shots and they're heavy volume. Billy Donovan isn't even going to Vooch that often, right? I'm not saying, like I said, not that it's a bad trade and not to say maybe the Bulls shouldn't do some variation of that. I don't know if that version of it I don't see happening in reality, but the concern is, at least with what I've seen from Billy Donovan, no matter who the Bulls end up bringing in, if they do try to bring in somebody else who's a starter, let's just say you're trying to replace Vooch with somebody or replace somebody to come in and start instead of Patrick Williams, I'm not confident in Billy Donovan changing the offense enough to incorporate other high volume scorers or shooters. I'm not at this point. I could be wrong with that. Could be completely wrong. But, Billy Donovan hasn't, I said it before, what I said about 2 weeks ago on the show. Billy Donovan, the players in the front office got to show me something. I ain't seen enough to believe that he's going to do that, in my opinion. The more I think about it, the more I think a trade is definitely happening. It might be small, but something is definitely happening. I can't see the front office going 2 straight years doing. Well, they didn't do nothing. Let's be clear here. We got to stop acting like this front office didn't do nothing. They completely overhauled the team, not this past free agency, but the free agency before then. Then even last season, they monitored the buyout deadline because trades just didn't make sense at that point. They brought in Tristan Thompson, who on paper and in theory would have brought some of the stuff that the Bulls needed. It didn't work out. And then this offseason, they brought in 2 players in Goran Dragic and Andre Drummond who've been better than most of the players that Bulls fans wanted the Bulls to go after. And then on top of that, they brought back Derrick Jones Jr., where a lot of us, even me, questioned bringing him back. And he's been balling. So let's not act like they did nothing, right? And let's not act like every team makes moves at the trade deadline. And they may, right? I do think that if this team continues to play flat, something's coming. I don't know if it's a buyout. I don't know if it's a free agent. I don't know if it's a trade. But let's not. I don't like that terminology of they did nothing. I just don't like that. Now we can talk all day that we didn't like what they did, that what they did didn't pay off in the way that they wanted to. But let's not say they did nothing, right? Let's not say that. I always said Zach needs to understand the concept of shots and finding his. Then will his game take off? Listen, if Zach had the patience of a DeMar DeRozan, right? There are times where DeMar, 15 dribbles, 12 pump fakes, the reverse spin, all that crap. But DeMar is very methodical in the way that he goes about getting his offense. I want to see Zach. If Zach takes anything from DeMar, I want to see Zach needs to get to the free throw line more. He's too fast, too athletic, has a step back move. It's just once if Zach LaVine's basketball IQ ever evens out, be scared for the NBA at that point, because if Zach learns how to get people to put him on the free throw line and then hits those free throws, then it is what it is there. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Brandon L. Jet in the building. What's going on, Brandon? We bitch when we don't take enough threes. To me, step back 3 from 2021, Zach wasn't a bad shot, even with 8 seconds on the shot clock. This year, though, well, I mean, yeah, I've said this before. I told you guys, I've compared the numbers on the episode. The last time Zach LaVine had any form of knee surgery, he only played 24 games that season, but his shooting percentages were almost what they were now. What that tells me is that when Zach has a knee surgery, whether he wants to admit it or not, it takes him a minute to get back into rhythm. Now, the season after that, he had one of his most efficient seasons and continued to build on that for 4 years in a row. But I'm not saying it's going to last this whole season for Zach, but right now, it's not dropping at a good rate for him. I do think it's eventually going to come back, whether it's this season or next. But it just kind of is. And when you look at those numbers, when you look at Zach LaVine and just the shooting percentages, take everything raw else out the game. He shot very similarly to what he's doing right now after his last knee surgery. So take that for what it's worth. I agree with what I said in the recent video. Why trade for Kuz when we can just sign a bucket getter in Carmelo Anthony, keep our assets? Well, it's not the same. 1-for-1 is not the same. Carmelo doesn't rebound at the rate Kuzma does. He doesn't shoot at the rate Kuzma does. Sure, on paper, their skill sets are similar, but there's still a thing of there's a ton of players with similar skill sets, but the impact they have and the caliber of player that they are completely different. Carmelo is not the caliber of player Kyle Kuzma is this season. He's just not. Historically, yes. What now where they are in their career, he's just not. Now, I would say there is some merit to saying, hey, why subtract from your team if you can add to it and add a Carmelo Anthony? But here's what I'll bounce back on that. Keep in mind, Kobe's an expiring contract and an asset that they don't know if they're going to even bring back. So in that case, if you can build a deal around a player that you don't know if you're going to want to bring back a better impact player at a position of need, you do that every single time, whether you can add Carmelo or not. So that's kind of the mindset behind it. Not to say that I don't understand where you're going with that, but that's just to be devil's advocate for the nature of conversation. That's kind of the thinking behind the other side of that. I hope we split at least one of the games, Knicks games with a win. If we win the first one, Tibbs will definitely have a game plan defensively for the. Listen, the Bulls offense is I have a game plan for the Bulls offense. You can come up with a game plan for the Bulls offense right now. The $2 crackhead down the street that hangs outside the liquor store every Wednesday and Sunday could come out with a game plan to guard the Chicago Bulls offense because it's so predictable. As long as it's predictable, that's it. And Tibbs being the defensive-minded coach he is, he already has a game plan, I guarantee you. Alana's in the building. She says, how's everyone doing? Alana decided to bless us with her presence as she wakes up from her nap. She's probably pulling her pre-roll out her hair right now. Vincent Harris, so Io's out tonight. Yes, Io is out with a dick injury tonight. He's out with the dick injury. Dick contusion. I like PJ Washington. I don't think Kuzma is a realistic target for the Bulls contract-wise, and I think Kuzma wants to start. Well, if you trade for a player, fuck what they want. I mean, it is what it is. But with that being said, would he be willing to, on a team that's better than the Washington Wizards, especially if he comes here? PJ Washington, you could say the same thing about PJ Washington. I like PJ Washington. I like PJ Washington as a more versatile player than Kuzma for sure, but I do think that the Hornets are going to want more when it comes to PJ Washington. That's my opinion. Shay, I find it funny that everybody talks about trading Vucevic when he is a top 5 player in most categories among centers, and you don't get that from a whole bench of centers, especially nowadays in today's NBA. Well, keep in mind, it's because he's an expiring contract. And even then, sometimes it's not about skill, it's about fit. There are times where a player that just fits better has more impact than a player who's technically a better player, right? And I'm not saying let's just trade Vooch for anything. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it's not always, this isn't 2K. And I don't say that because I know, Shay, you look at it deeper than that. But this isn't 2K where you can put a bunch of 90 rated players together and it's just going to work, right? It's not always like that. Fitting a team together is about as much balancing how they play off of each other. And the fact of the matter is there's enough to show when all three of Zach, DeMar, and Vooch are in the game together, they have a negative point differential. So there's enough to see there to say, hey, if they did decide, again, not saying they should for sure, but if they did decide to retool and to move Vooch, considering an expiring contract, things like that, you got to understand it's not just about 1-for-1, right? It's not always about that. But I do agree with you. Vooch is top 5 to 10 in most statistical categories for a center for sure. Exactly. Trading a crap player like Reddish for Kobe does nothing to move the needle for this. It's literally changing one set of issues for another set of issues, and both issues are inconsistent. That's it. I don't want us to get rid of Vooch, and I'm also happy we got DJJ back. Been really killing it for us. Probably feels bad for missing that free throw and the buzzer beater hit on. Yeah, I mean, as much as we talk about that wild shot, like DeMar did what needed to be done. DJJ, if he didn't get that offensive rebound and put the ball back, we wouldn't even been in position to go into overtime. So I can fault him so much for the missed free throw, but he took care of business as far as putting us in a position to go to overtime. And I didn't beat him up for that on the post game. Some people did, and it is what it is. But I guarantee you, he is beating himself up for that for sure. Brittany's Family's Chaos says, hi, I just subscribed. Well, thank you for subscribing, Brittany. This is a crazy family here at Chicago Bulls Central. Hopefully you continue to enjoy it. Haize, can we add some height worth something? I mean, it's not just about height. It's more about length, but, it is what it is. Kendall, Haize, my boy, what's good, bro? What's going on, fam? Exactly. Carmelo is a whole decade older than Kuzma. That's wild, bro. That's wild. Brian says, I want Melo. I mean, listen, bro. I'm sure there's date naps for that, bro. I'm sure there's date naps for that you can go and check that out and be like, hey, Melo, I want that dick. Brian's my dude. I can fuck with Brian. I won't fuck with nobody else like that. I can just fuck with Brian. That's it. Oh, man. Super Duper Danko says, I think I agree with you and Pat in the sense that I think this season will be the reverse of last season. I really expect that level of play to increase. I mean, on paper, it's like really set up to do that, and I hope that that's end up what happening. I really hope that it ends up happening. But man, start of the season is rough, and it's been stressful. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Reginald Short says, I think Zach or Pat should attack the rim more. Guys are moving out of their way, and there seems to never more than one or two guys on the team looking to take a charge. I mean, you don't want to just drive into the lane blindly, but Zach definitely needs to get to the attack the rim more. That's part of Zach's game. It's never really been part of P. Will's game. I do want to see him go to the post more, but I like that P. Will's starting to develop some, I wouldn't necessarily call it mid-range moves that I do like to see him add to his bag. Drew, Vooch's offensive skill is very good, but his lack of rim protection stands out more, especially when we don't get Vooch enough touches to get the most out of him. Where's the thing? There's two forms of rim protection, right? It's not just shot blocking, which I think Vooch is averaging over a block shot per game. But it's also your ability to keep your man from. That was almost a pause moment. I almost said to be able to keep your man from penetrating. That would have been a rough line. But to keep the person you're guarding from getting to the lane, and that could be a team concept thing. But I do agree, like Vooch is not being used to his optimal potential at all. So it's weird. Why didn't I get a notification you were going? I have no idea. Like YouTube's been killing it with the notification. Like I got a notification today for a video Pat the Designer posted three days ago, and I'm subscribed to his channel for notifications on everything. Nothing against management, but it's wild we never hit on those random great free agent shooters like the Heat always do. Strus, Robinson, players like Yuta. Well, keep in mind too, like I think Strus is cool, but Duncan Robinson, the Heat are almost regretting that contract. So listen, it is what it is when it comes to that. Like you're not going to hit on all of them, and I would like to see the Bulls actually start developing their own for sure. Mace says, I feel like Haize low-key can hoop for real. Listen, I don't talk about things that I can do in real life. I'll show you. That's my mindset behind everything. I grew up in the show me state. Well, not grew up. Lived in the show me state for a long time. You got to show me. You got to show me. Isaac says, what's good, Haize? You think Mo Bamba would be a good pickup? Man, I don't know. Not trading for him. Not at that contract. Not at that level. I don't necessarily, I'm not down on him as a player overall, but he's not getting a lot of opportunity. Orlando, they may look to move him, but unless they're going to take Tony Bradley for him, it is what it is there. Shay says, everybody's talking about making trades and all of that, and that sounds good, but at the end of the day, the buyout is also an option, but you don't control what's out on the buyout. And keep in mind, the buyout is after the trade deadline. So unless the Bulls are getting word that somebody they really want is going to get bought out, you may be forced to go to the trade market, right? Because last year we talked about players that could have been available through buyout, and a lot of them weren't actually bought out. So you never know with that. DSF3 says, do you think Pat is hesitant to go to the rim because of his injury last year? Is it in his head? I would say that, but we've seen Patrick Williams just absolutely dunk on some people's heads this season. So I think at the beginning it was. I think last season definitely it was. But this season, I don't necessarily think that's it. I think like it's hard for players to get in rhythm that just don't touch the ball a lot. And Patrick Williams doesn't. Will we see Lonzo this year? I have no idea, bro. I can't even call it. I wish I could. I wish I had a better answer for that for y'all, but I can't. I really can't even begin to call what we're going to see from Lonzo. And then even if he does, out of basketball year, we need to start tempering our expectations on how much Lonzo can give us this season. Now, I do think if Lonzo is ready to go and can go, it's going to be huge to get him back much like with Patrick Williams, right? To get him back this season so he can start getting in the rhythms. That way he can attack the offseason. Even if you're bringing Lonzo back for 10 games this season, I think you still do so, in my opinion, because it's better to get him some of those reps than not. But the longer that somebody's out from basketball, the less they have a chance to make an impact. That he has to get his timing back. He has to get the rhythm back. He has to find rhythm with the new players on this team, all those type of things. I think if Lonzo does come back this season, look for Lonzo to make more of an impact defensively right away than what he did with his passing, then his shooting from last season. Those two things may take a while to come back. They just may. Waiting for the buyout has made me scared. Those players are released from the contracts for a reason. Well, sometimes the reason is that a player that's a veteran on 1 year left on a team that's like let's say Harrison Barnes, right? The Sacramento Kings are doing good, but let's just say Harrison Barnes, last year of his contract. Let's say that the Kings try to facilitate a trade, nothing comes to fruition, and he just says, "Hey, listen, I could stay here, but I really want to go try to play for a playoff team." Again, they're going to be a playoff team this season. I'm just theoretical. Then they buy him out, right? That can happen for Eric Gordon. That could happen for Jordan Clarkson. That could happen for a couple of different players that are on 1 year expiring deals. It just depends. So it's not all Tristan Thompson, but a lot of buyouts are, right? I will say that. A lot of the buyout players are. PB and Pat says, all I got to say is I was right about Drummond having a great season so far, minus the injuries, but will we ever have a fully healthy Caruso? He's always playing. Caruso's always going to be injured. It's just in the nature of how he plays. He's always going to be dinged up a little bit. Patrick Williams scared to go to the room. Tell that to Isaiah Harden last year, who was currently on the. Say what the fuck, bro? Come on, Shay, bro. Spell this shit right, bro. It's like, take some time, take a little bit more time to respond, and spell the shit right, Shay. Spell this shit right, Shay. Spell the words right, bro. Spell them right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm asking for, bro. Is just spell the words correctly, bro. That's it. Oh, man. Have they announced the starters? That's from Old Man Winter. Let's take a look. Let's see what we got. Boy, Shay be stressing my black ass out, bro. I love him, though. That's my little brother. Like, let's be clear here. I love Shay. That is my dude. But Shay be tripping sometimes. Shay really be tripping. But that's my guy, though. Oh, man. If Io have a nut injury, all he needs to do is get him a girl. Oh, wow. You see? Y'all going back to talking about the choking stroke. Listen, if you've ever been, it's not just like being hit in the dick by a ball, like by a loose baseball. Like, he literally was 10 feet up in the air and landed, and the first thing that made impact was his dick and balls on Junior DeBarge's kneecap. That's not as simple as just coming back from that, bro. It takes a minute. It takes a minute. Like, literally, Io DeSumo was in the back like this.
Coach, put me in. Coach, can I please get in the game? Coach, put me in.
Because that man's voice was 18 octaves higher because that man got a dick contusion. That's what that was, a dick contusion. There's definitely going to be an Isaiah Harden in the league within the next 10 years. Hey, for sure. For sure. Also, did we beat the Mavs like that because Luka was out or because I was there? Gonna have to go to another game to make sure. I feel you, Vaughn. Go to as many games as you can. Go to as many games as you can. I will only ever have. Oh, that's deep. That's deep. That's funny. Oh, man. My own legacy says, Haize, was thinking the Bulls at some point have to make a move. What do you think? Listen, I steer clear from saying move words like have, right? I steer clear from that because have means is an absolute necessity. I do think that this team, if they can get their shit together, can make some noise without necessarily making moves. But every day that goes by and this team is flat, every day that goes by where this team doesn't seem to click right, every day that goes by where this big three has a negative point differential, every day that goes by while we're still under 500, you get closer and closer to needing to make some type of move, for sure. I'm not reading that comment, Drew. I'm not reading that comment. I'm definitely not reading that comment, bro. Now, I'm just letting you know right now. I'm not reading it. Anybody who wants to know what it is, please go to the YouTube comment section because Drew is trying. Listen, you're not getting me caught up there, brother. Not happening. Not happening. Not at all. I ain't doing it. That's a comment, bro. That's a hell of a comment, man. That's wild. That's wild. Do you think that was personal with Trae Young kicking? He didn't kick him. So, no, he didn't kick him at all. Trae was literally on his back. But so, no, he didn't kick him. It wasn't that type of thing. He didn't kick him. But all right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the pregame show. I will be back. You guys know what I got to do. I got to go fuck up some wings. Instead of fucking up commas, we got to fuck up wings. Oh, here we go. I'll read this one. Let's see what this one is. Even after you and Pat have covered it, I checked twice to be sure that both of these games against NY are at the United Center. Who made this? Bro, I have no idea, Kyle. None. It's literally one of the most mind-boggling things I have ever seen as far as the NBA schedule. And then they go to Indiana. So they're literally going to basically be in the state of Illinois for the whole week. It's weird. It's weird. But all right, I'm going to fuck up some wings. I will see you guys at the halftime hangout. I love you guys, man. See red, don't be red, all that good shit. The Bulls need to get a dub because it's game day. So we'll see what we get from the Chicago Bulls in this game. I love you guys, man. Go Bulls. See red. Love you guys.